Fugitive Slave Constitution. It is difficult to pin a precise meaning to the Fugitive Slave Clause thanks to its frustrating syntax. No person held to service or labor in one state under the laws thereof, escaping to another, shall, in consequence of any law or regulations therein, be discharged from such service or labor. This is your brother Kadar Bun of GMS Mississippi Gulf Coast. I'd like to start by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rahakadash. Double honors are given unto the apostle elders of Great Millstone, men who have labored and suffered in this truth for over 30 plus years, making their lives and their bodies a living sacrifice. I'd also like to send a shalom to the various GMS camps, heads of those camps, elders, and also a shalom to the hopeful elect, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, and also, last but not least, a shalom to any of you Akim that are in the four winds of the earth, north, south, east, and west, where we scattered to, walking in one spirit and one body in Yahweh Shai, in this 100% truth, as taught to us all by the apostle elders of Great Millstone. To you all, shalom. And this, Lord willing, this be quick and edifying. One or two precepts to bring out behind this, just bringing in the correlation of the relationship between the Fugitive Slave Constitution and the U.S. Federal Marshal. They're one and the same. This clause is still in the United States Constitution. Everything goes back to the enslavement of the Israelites. This stuff is blatant and is there for one to research if they, if it piques their interest. Extract. Let's see. Among the most long-standing constitutional controversies in the antebellum era was the interpretation of the Fugitive Slave Clause. It was the subject of repeated legislative and judicial construction at both the state and federal level. It raised delicate questions about federalism and the balancing of property rights and personal liberty. Slaveholders and abolitionists brought inconceivable constitutional positions to the table, ultimately dividing Northerners from Southerners. However, it was not just divergent politics, committance that made it difficult to fix a stable meaning to the Fugitive Slave Clause. The text itself was ambiguous enough to make it amendable to multiple interpretations. In other words, it's an open interpretation to it. It covers a wide range of whatever may come up, in any situation. So the laws, for the most part, are left ambiguous. Open interpretation. Interpretations. Okay, for precisely this reason, an examination of the changing interpretations of the Fugitive Slave Clause uncovers antebellum constitutional paradox, allowing us to see how historical actors interpreted the Constitution and how those interpretations shift over time. In other words, they amended it as they see fit. As they see fit, they amended it. Whatever situation whatever situation they have come across throughout these years, they have mended it to cover a full range of whatever it may be. Let's see. I want to read a little bit more from Wikipedia. Save American Battlefield Trust. Here we go, right here. I think that's it right here. Let's see. Article 4, Section 2, movement of persons throughout the Union. As you can see, these David and Ariella Gross, David R. Uppen, Director of Legal Studies Program and Associate Professor of Political Science at the University of Dallas. Anyway, introduction. Let's see, introduction. Our Constitution's fourth article is devoted to the relation between states and the Union. Section 2 of the article sets forth 3 clauses, each of which concern the movement of persons throughout the Union. And some of these laws right here were basis for laws like when Jack Johnson was dealing with white women back in the turn of the 20th century. They used laws like this right here to bring forth new laws or to amend or, add on to. Like I said, they were ambiguous at best. It says the first of these, the Privileges and Immunity Clause, stipulates that the citizen of each state shall enjoy the privilege and immunities of citizens in the other states. Controversially, where the interstate traveler is a fugitive from criminal justice, just as I said. Now, this is talking about so-called white man, them enjoying privileges and immunities. Because in the earlier days, let's keep reading. It says, fugitive from criminal justice. The second provision, the extradition clause, requires the person's forcible rendition to the state where the alleged crime occurred. Finally, the fugitive clause is now obsolete. Extend this rule of whatever that word is, rendition to interstate fugitive from slavery. This is fugitive from justice. It says, unlike the other clause of Article 4, the provision in Section 2 vests in Congress no express enforcement powers or duties. Instead, each use a passive voice verb shall be entitled in the first clause and shall be delivered up in the second and third clause without any clear identification of the authority or authorities who are to ensure this entitlement or this rendition. See that? Because they're going to they're going to come up with agencies behind this. So, you know what I'm saying? So they have to open the doors on the foundations of the CIA, U.S. Marshals, where you can find that inceptions go back to 13 colonies. And the inception of the police force or the slave catchers goes back all the way to Yorkshire, England, where the sheriff was called the sheriff. Anyway, first clause, without a clear indication of authority or authorities who are to ensure this entitlement or this rendition. The provision mentions only the persons entitled to the benefit, the citizen. Under the Privileges and Immunity Clause, the executive of the state of the alleged crime under the extradition clause, and although not named as such, the slaveholder under the fugitive slave clause. Anyway, I'm gonna read a little bit more than I'm gonna. It says before the Civil War, the fugitive slave clause and the privileges and immunity clause associated in intense national controversy. Americans disagreed about both the scope of these provisions and the degree to which the federal government has some implied power or duty to enforce them. These legal disputes, in turn, reflect deep political divisions of on questions related to slavery, race, and citizenship. Since the Civil War, Article 4, Section 2 has been largely uncontroversial by abolishing slavery and securing black citizens. The Reconstruction Amendments largely resolved the antebellum disputes arising under Article 4. Today, jurists largely agree as to the central meaning of the three clauses. Anyway, we want to see the correlation between the U.S. Federal Marshals and the Slavery Act Constitution. And this is a Wikipedia, usmarshal.gov, U.S. Marshal Service. It says, oldest federal law enforcement agency. On September 24th, President George Washington appointed the first 13 U.S. Marshal following the passage of the first Judiciary Act. U.S. Marshal has historically conducted death sentences on those condemned by federal courts. Until the creation of the Secret Service in 1865, marshals were frequently called upon to pursue whatever that word is. U.S. Marshals were required by Congress to take the national census every 10 years, which we know that's you're not supposed to count the children of Israel. It says U.S. Marshal Robert Forsey was murdered while serving civil process on the Allen brothers. Conclusion: retired Deputy U.S. Marshal follows the trail of Robert Forsey's murder. Okay, just reading a few of them here. It says Supreme Court Justice James Wilson certified that the whiskey rebels were too powerful to suppress by the powers vested in the U.S. powers invested in the marshals of that district. President Washington called out the state militia. Check it out now. It says September, the state militia marched against the whiskey rebels. U.S. Marshal David Lennox rode with them and marched under the command of President Washington, the only time in American history a president has taken the field at the head of his army. Let's see. I want to get let's see. Let's see. It was something I want to read here. Or did I miss it? Oh, yeah, here we go, right here. Okay. Head of the field says July 13th, Congress passed the Sedition Act. Sedition. Punishing unlawful combinations against the government or punishing false, scandalous, and malicious writing about the government. U.S. Marshal and Attorney attorneys enforce the infamous law. Upon the passage, this is what I wanted to read right here. Upon the passage of the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850 by Congress, U.S. Marshals enforced the act by arresting fugitive slaves and returning them to their southern masters. Marshals were required to enforce the law, and any negligence in doing so exposed marshals and deputies to severe financial penalties. And through all the hoopla, a lot of this is, the slave Constitution, the Slave Act Constitution, which is in your Constitution, and the U.S. Marshal. All of these things are hidden in this man's shyster nature. Shyster nature. He hides things through his wicked ass legislation. He don't know it no other way. No other way. Quick precept here. This is Proverbs chapter 21. And I'm going to start at verse 10, and it reads, "The soul of the wicked deviseth evil. His neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes." They create these laws, man, and mind you, it was from one era to the next era to today's era, and you're still in slavery by way of what they call paperwork or adhesive contracts. That's just a word to look up. Adhesive contract. Deuteronomy 28 and I'm just paraphrasing. The curses there. It says that a yoke of iron will be placed around your neck until thee has been destroyed. And obviously, it wasn't talking about you physically; it was talking about you mentally. They did enough beating and killing and whipping and whatnot. They got everything under control. Destroyed your mind and gave you some civil rights, because they were trying to do that back in the late 1800s. I think it was like the 1860s, 70s or so, because I think they finally fulfilled it all in the 20th century, 1960s. But during that 100-year period, they had to sit back and scheme and come up with ways, to make this work, whereas the people that they enslaved wouldn't be trying to rise up and fight them all the time. You let a dog think he's free, then you ain't got to really worry about that dog biting you. You understand? It's just a state of mind. You able to get up and go to McDonald's. You able to get up and go to your favorite restaurant. You able to get up and go to a movie theater. You able to get up and go, to the grocery store. You able to get up and go and just turn a block if you feel like it. That person has been destroyed in their mind because they no longer believe that they're enslaved. But this just show you how wicked this man is. You understand? But at the same time, look at his laws: Slave Act, U.S. Marshal. They're one and the same. It's police departments. Anyway, let's read on. It says, "The soul of the wicked deviseth evil; his neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise, and when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge." And that's going into the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. When the scorner is punished, the simple is made wise, and when the wise is instructed, he receiveth knowledge. Because it's the old saying, I can't think of her name. She's from Mississippi. They claim she coined this phrase: "I'm sick or tired of being sick and tired." But it goes without saying, the men of the Lord, Lord willing, we be those men. Start with the apostles and the elders on down. He's sick and tired of being sick and tired. So the Lord open up your understanding and receive the knowledge of the scriptures. Makes this existence in this particular time, it makes it just that much less tolerable. You can deal with this a little bit more when you understand there's an end to this. When you believe and have faith that all this is going to come to an end, and everybody that's responsible for all the ill will be held responsible. But you've been living the majority of your life, all your life, and generation of your lives on the whipping end or the bad end of every ordeal here in Babylon, the Great, aka America. It's hard to keep your wits about yourself. But these scriptures, according to Isaiah 33:6, knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of the time. This keeps you grounded. Because you have a good a faith, a belief, a strong belief in that what has been done wrong will be right, and not be dealing with the ways of the world and everything that's done wrong. There's no justice for it. Anyway. All right, it says right here, 12, it says, the righteous man wisely consider the house of the wicked, but Yahweh the power overthrow the wicked for their wickedness. They sit back and conjure up these things, you understand? The wicked take counsel. They conjure up these laws and put them in the Constitution, and then create agencies to enforce it. Like we read, the laws were ambiguous at best. That way that no one can be held accountable for the true meaning of what was written on the paper. And they was all Confederate when they wrote it, when they were sitting and yaying these bills to be passed. We're interpreted as we go. Verse 13, it says, whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. Whoso stoppeth his ears at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. And that's a very good example of Esau Edom crying. He sought his blessing from his father Isaac with tears and cries. But the Most High is not hearing them. There's no repenting for these folks. And they got a lot to pay for. A whole lot to pay for. But they don't believe that they got to pay, They've been doing this for so long, for so many generations. They believe that the Most High is really on their side, but matter of fact, we're going to grab that in just a second. It says, verse 14, it says, a gift in secret pacify anger, and reward in the bosom strong wrath. Verse 15, it is joy to the just to do judgment, but destruction shall be to the workers of iniquity. Paraphrasing, the Most High said that it is I'm just paraphrase. A man that lives to see his children grow and to see the downfall of his enemies. That's a sweet thing. That's a sweet thing. Anyway, I'm gonna jump over here. Let me see, Ecclesiastes, because see, they think they've been, like I said, it's been going on far too long. So they dead set on they're just dead set on committing wickedness. This is Ecclesiastes, rather. We're going to get straight to the point. Ecclesiastes 8 and verse 11, it says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the Son of Men is fully set in them to do evil. You know, and that's twofold. That go for our folks as well. Mainly. But this devil, this Satan walking in the flesh, he think that since nothing has been done to him all this time. A lot of these so-called white men, George Washington and the presidents and whatnot, their fathers and their lineage coming on up to the present day, they live long lives, 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. You understand what I'm saying? They've lived their whole life. But see, now in the spirit realm, I'm quite sure they know they got hell to pay. Just like we had hell to pay. So, everybody gonna get what they deserve. Verse 12, it says, though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with him, with them that fear the Most High Yahweh, which fear before him. Yep. Verse 13, but it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow, because he feareth not before the Most High Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Yes. Verse 14, it says, there is a vanity which is done upon the earth. It's worthless. It's without any meaning, without any substance, the things that's been done, that there be just men unto whom it happened according to the work of the wicked. Again, there be wicked men to whom it happened according to the work of the righteousness. I said that this also is vanity. Anyway, let me grab one more. Get up out of here real quick. I'm going to close out with this because ultimately, the children of Israel, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native and Seminole Americans, you wanted to get it together. Let's go here. This is Luke 18 and we're gonna get straight to the verse 6, and it says, and the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua said, hear what the unjust judge saith. Verse 7, and shall not Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua avenge his own elect, which cry day and night unto him, though he bear long with them? I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? Yes, he shall find faith on the earth. The 1/3 of the nation of Israel, his elect, they're going to be doing, what the Lord has ordained them to be doing. They're going to be rehearsing the righteous acts. They will repent. They'll be doing all of these things, all the righteousness to the best of their ability in the situation that they're in at this particular time. And the Most High will reward them for their works. But the wicked, real quick, I'm going to close out with this one. Well, as for the wicked, I think this is it. Let's see. As for the wicked, Isaiah 48 and 22, there is no peace, saith the Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, unto the wicked. Lord willing, it was edifying, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, double honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone. Just wanted to speak on this man wickedness, It's all throughout his constitution. He feel like that right now to the very day. With that, shalom.